Today, we're going to look at the most dangerous weapon in the offense's arsenal. Called either the strike cut or the scorch cut, this simple move threatens so much. It can tear a defense to shreds by itself. On the board, as with all of these videos, blue is on offense, red is on defense, and white is the disc. The offense is trying to score at the top of the screen, the left side is home, and the right side is away. So what is a strike or scorch cut? Well, first of all, it's two words for the exact same thing. In Utah, most teams call it the scorch, but when I was in high school, we called it the strike. So that's the word I'm going to be using today. Recognize, though, that these two words mean the exact same thing. A strike cut is a forward pass thrown to a target who originated behind the handler. It doesn't matter if the receiver is normally a handler or a cutter. The term is in regards to the angle of the attack. So as we can see here, the handler has the disc in their hands, and you have this horizontal plane, and this person is going to cut up like so, and then they will receive the disc somewhere out in this space. And this is a very reliable throw because as soon as this guy comes up, the defense is going to react and they're going to maintain speed in this kind of a relative position. So now we have an advantage on offense going a little bit out or a little bit to the side. As long as we put a little bit of OI on the disc, just make it that much harder for the defense to make a play, and it's a very reliable throw. While the cut could originate from the open side of the field, you will almost always see this initiated from the break side. If we're going to originate from the open side, it generally makes more sense to attack more forwards or more across, and it makes less sense to take this diagonal approach, which we would generally affiliate with the strike cut. So in this position, where the defender is preventing this horizontal cut, we could simply come straight out, and then we have an advantage up here. Or if the defender chooses to cut this off and they're going to play more upwards, then we can attack here and get the advantage on this side. So we're going to focus on strikes initiated from the break side. This can happen at any time, but the two most common is from handler to handler as part of a reset pattern and from cutter to cutter as part of a continuation throw. Either way, the strike is insanely dangerous. It's a triple threat play. Whenever a pass is made, we change the angle of attack, which creates opportunities to exploit defensive positioning. This is true not only for the off-ball players, but for the handler and their mark as well. When we catch on the run, we should assume that the defense is one step behind us. On an in cut, we'll gain this position and we'll come in and receive the disc, and we can reasonably assume that their defender will be standing like so, which means it's kind of like a flat mark situation. And it's really hard to follow up with a huck in a flat mark situation. The defender is right in front of you. Now, let's compare that to a strike. When we come up this way and we get the disc, the defender is going to be behind us. Well, now, since the defender is behind us, we have nothing that's going to prevent us from throwing a huck. This position right here, where we are making an upline move, the defender is behind us, we have a little bit of that forward momentum as we catch the disc, we call this power position. In power position, since your body has that downfield momentum, you can convert that energy straight into a huck and get a lot more power out of your throw. The combination of that physical momentum downfield, adding distance to your throw, as well as having the mark behind you, means that the huck coming straight from the strike, straight into a huck, a downfield shot, that is an incredibly dangerous threat. And so that is going to be threat number one. For this threat to be realized, we actually need to have a player committing their body to running downfield to receive the huck. So let's just say that this was the break side wing. We would want to make sure that as this strike is happening, they are starting to commit themselves towards the end zone. They don't need to strike all the way across the field. If they're starting on this wing side, if they aim for like a quarter to a third of the distance laterally towards the center, that is more than enough. The disc can be thrown towards the center, And this gives us a nice angle. We can look over our shoulder while we're running, and we can pull this down. Even if this throw is never going to be made, maybe the person receiving the disc is not comfortable making this throw, if we do not threaten by putting someone downfield, then we're not going to be able to pull any tricks on the defense. You see, the defender is also moving themselves down the field. So if their body is pointed this way, they can very easily see everything that is happening down the field. And if they see that there is nobody going downfield, there's no one threatening to receive a huck, then they don't need to do anything special here and get pulled out of position. What we'd like them to do, what a lot of guys will do, is called flashing. So you come around, the disc is received behind, and the mark will actually run all the way around and in front and hang out there for about a second in order to kill any momentum for a downfield play. So let's say the offense is creating that full threat. This guy is threatening the end zone. The mark sees it, and so he flashes out in front in order to shut down this huck. Well, let's go to threat number 2. To counter this flash, we now have opened up this entire break side space. The responsibility of this mark is normally to shut down anything going towards the break side. In this situation, we'd be doing a force away, which means that the mark is supposed to deny anything from going towards the home side. Well, by coming up here, preventing the huck, they are conceding this home side break throw. So this right here, that is threat number 2. And there's a couple different ways that offense can make good on this threat. First of all, you could have your break side popper. They could come in and attack the space right here. You could also have your handler, maybe your break side handler. They can come up and attack the space up here. Depending on the nature of the situation, either one of these is viable, but it's important to have someone come into this space for that lateral pass immediately. A really important thing to keep in mind with this break side throw is that it is not a strike. We are not trying to gain yards here. The most important thing is to move the disc towards the break side of the field in order to mess up the defense further. Think about it. The mark currently is flat marking. They are preventing this deep shot from happening. Well, they're going to want to return to their normal sideline force. And as they return, okay, we can kind of break this down frame by frame. They're shutting off the space behind him. He starts to come around. He shuts off this space, comes around, shuts off this space, comes around, shuts off this space. So over the course of them recovering to their default position, they are cutting off all of this space here. If we get greedy and we're trying to gain yards, most particularly coming from this handler, right, because their momentum is going to carry them up and into the space, you're actually going to be blocking yourself. In order to counter the momentum of this mark returning to their position, we would expect the throw to be shaped like so. It would be like a backhand OI throw or a flick IO. Either way, it's going to have this type of a curve, and we might even lose yards here just because of the nature of the release. So if we get too greedy and try and gain too much from this, that's going to be a problem. Now, if you're being really tightly guarded, you could come up here, threaten the strike, and then bounce back and come down. But recognize no matter what we are doing, this break throw, okay, is going to be for equal or maybe even negative yards. But that's perfectly fine. Positioning is far more important than yards gained. So as a quick recap, threat number 1 is the huck, okay, targeting downfield. The idea here is we can either pull the mark out in front, or we could just score. But let's assume that the mark does jump out in front and it shuts down the play. Threat number 2 is going to be the break side throw, taking advantage of this shifted mark. Okay, now they've recovered, and threat number 3 is just going to be another strike. If that strike happens, we can restart this triple threat play pattern all over again. Now, if that strike does not materialize into a pass, then we're back to just playing regular ultimate. By the time all 3 threats have come to pass, we should be about stall 4. And in general, once we get to stall 4, we want to be looking for a reset anyways. So you could kind of make that the 4th threat if you wanted to, have this all be in one collective system. Up, across, up, and then back for the reset. After doing that, normal gameplay continues. The strike is incredibly powerful and dangerous. We are super dynamic, threatening so much of the field. But its power can be corrupting. Successfully gaining yards with strike after strike down the field can be self-defeating. Let's just say that we get the strike off. Okay, we get the disc here. There is no huck. There is no break. And then we look and we get another strike done. Well, now take a look at our offensive spacing. On one half of the field, we have 5 players on offense, 5 players on defense. We have 10 people on one half and only 2 people on the other half. Additionally, take a look at this spacing here between the handler and their receivers. This is all incredibly clumped up. Remember, open space favors the offense, closed space favors the defense. As we get more and more clumped up, this gives more and more advantages to the defense. We can get even more clumped up. Imagine that this person came across off this first strike trying to score. Off the second strike, this guy comes across trying to score. And now all of a sudden, we're looking at 7 players all in one small space. Horrible offensive spread. So what are we supposed to do? Even if you are not actively cutting, we must be cognizant of our teammates and maintain great spacing. This could mean actively running away from a play while it's developing. Maintaining that balanced spacing is essential. So, come up for a strike, and now we're realizing that we're too close here to the play that's in front of us. So we could choose to back on out and simply run away from the play, even if we're not actively trying to create the next situation. It just opens up the space here for someone else to make a play. We could sweep out to the sideline and allow these guys to come on in and then, gain leverage on their defender. Now, while we're going through that process, what if, while we're backing out, our defenders choose to not follow us? Well, this is called being poached, and now it's a free score, right? We can just hammer or anything to get past the defense and run away with it for free, punish that greedy defense. And if they were to chase us, then as I just said, this now opens up space for everybody else and it allows the play to continue. In total, the strike is a very powerful, very deadly move. It's our primary way of creating huck opportunities, and it can lead to all number of dynamic options. As long as we don't get too excited and preserve great spacing, effective strikes create better offense.